It's time to call this meeting to order and get started. This is the regular board meeting of the S.F.D.R.C.I.S.D, November 26, 2012. Mr. Overfelt, we have a quorum, correct?
Yes, sir.
Let the record show that a quorum of the board members is present, that this meeting's been duly called, that notice of this meeting's been posted in accordance with the Texas Open Meetings Act, Texas Government Code, Chapter 551. This time, if you'd stand for opening ceremonies. First, a moment of silence. Now the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please be seated. Brings us to item 4, public comments. Ms. Falcone, were there any public comments? No. Thank you. That brings us to item 5, information items. With information item A being recognition of the Del Rio Middle School that placed in the Texas Music Educators Association All-Region Choir. Presenter, Mr. Juan Nunez. Mr. Nunez.
Good evening, Mr. President, members of the board, Superintendent. It gives me great pride to introduce the following organizations from our Music Fine Arts Department. They started their competition probably in the month of October, November. Now the competitions go all the way to about late April. But at this time, I'm going to turn over the program to the director of our choir, Del Rio Middle School Choir, Ms. Casey Resto, in which she'll kind of give you more information as to what the process is. Casey.
Hi, my name is Ms. Risto, and as he said, I'm the choir director at the 6th, 7th, and 8th grade campus. And TMEA is a music organization, for those of you that don't know, in Texas for educators. And the process that these students went through is they had to learn 3 songs, different ones for the, sopranos had to learn 3, altos learned a different part, and then the boys learned 3 different songs. And these 2 were 2 of my 20 that made it on to the next level. Out of I think there was around 200 middle schoolers that audition, and they only take top 15, I believe it is, in each level. So Mandy here got 5th chair in the alto section. And then Carlos actually got 1st chair in the tenor 2 section. So
Yes, congratulations.
Our choir program just recently started competing at TMEA and UIL. So we're very proud of the accomplishments of our middle school students as well. That's the feeding program to the next group organization. At this time, it's our Del Rio High School choir department under the direction of Mr. Josue Gonzalez.
Good evening. I have 3 of my students, only 2 of them are here today. Max Hernandez got 4th chair, and he competed against 80 other tenor 2s. And the high school process is a lot longer. They have to learn 7 pieces, and when they get there, they say, okay, you're going to sing these 3, and you're not only going to sing these little parts. So, they have to learn basically a bunch of music, and they only have to sing like 20 seconds worth of music when they get there. So they have to be very well prepared. Carolina was my only girl who made it this year, and she was 17 chairs in alto 1. There's about 91 alto 1s competing. So she did very well. And Philip, who's not here today, he got 10th chair and in tenor 2, so he's also moving up. And Max and Philip are going to pre-area, which is tomorrow. We have a competition tomorrow, and if they get top 5, there's only 10 in their section now, so if they get top 5, then we move on to the state level. So they have 1 more round to go, and so Max and Philip, thank you for your help and your support.
Thank you, Mr. Gonzalez. Also in the TMEA All-Region Jazz Band, under the direction of Mr. Danny White, we had a couple of students as well that placed in those that competition. Mr. White?
The TMEA Region Jazz Audition, they have 2 bands and about 5 saxophones per band, 5 trumpets, 4 trombones, and a rhythm section, which includes a drum, bass, guitar, and piano. Out of all those kids, you had about 100 kids trying out. We had 2 kids that made the rhythm section for the second band. That means basically they only got beat by 1 other person. Andres De Leon on guitar and Bambi or Emmanuel De Leon on piano. So they're brothers, so it actually worked out real good. They weren't able to be here tonight, but they did make the second band.
Thank you, Mr. White. And we have also started a middle school jazz band. I don't know if any of you all have been able to see them perform already. They had an outstanding concert in the month of October, and they will also be performing in the winter concert. By the way, before I forget, I do have something I'd like to present to you all, just for information. It's the invitations to all our winter concerts that we have already set up for the month of December. Hopefully you can attend.
Thank you.
Our last item is our UIL marching contest results. It's a tradition in our program for excellence. So we're very proud of our marching band, our high school, under the direction of Mr. Rios. So Mr. Rios and all his staff, Mr. Eldaco, Mr. White, all the middle school staff that helps with them as well.
Thank you, Mr. Nunez, and good evening to all. We brought some of our leaders from the Mighty Ram Band, and it's with great pleasure and honor that we been able to continue the success of the Mighty Ram Band. We have the tradition of making first divisions at marching, and very pleased that this year is not any different than the other years. We're still doing that. We had the largest band that we had ever had in the history of Del Rio High. We had about 270 students, and we're hoping that next year we're going to be breaking the 300 mark. And so the program is growing, and we're very, very appreciative of being able to get extra uniforms, because we had a total of 250 just a year ago, and we were not going to have enough uniforms to be able to put everybody into the Mighty Ram Band uniform, and so that was possible. I know it was a good cost there, but it's for the kids, and we will hopefully have enough for this next year, because at this point we do have 300, and but we'll see what we can resort to. We have also some gowns that we're gonna maybe have some of the students that are in the front, so that we can still have enough uniforms for next year. But the program is growing, and I want to be thanking my high school staff, Mr. Aldaco and Mr. White, as well as all of our middle school directors. They actually had some practices after school, and they said we won't be able to make it because they're still hard at work and getting our kids to be successful up here at high school as well. We also want to thank Mr. Nunez for all his support and everything that he's been doing, not just for our program, but as well for all the fine arts programs, and as well as for all of our school board members and administrative staff for all their support in continuing the program. And we will continue to get more of these, which is our trophy.
Mr. Rios and all the staff and all the, as well as the choir, is doing an excellent job, so I commend you as well. And that ends my presentation.
Thank you. Well, that was outstanding to see those accomplishments from the middle school through the high school level. That's an exceptional, good sign of progress being made. Real nice way to start the regular meeting, too.
Yes.
So congratulations again to all those kids that made the community proud. Okay, that brings us to information item E, recognition of the Del Rio High School football team, volleyball team, and cross-country. Presenter, Mr. Dan Hurley.
Mr. Board President, Dr. Ackerman, board members, thank you very much. We are here to honor some of our fall sports programs tonight, and we have 3 of our programs from this fall that were very successful. We're going to start tonight with our girls volleyball program with Coach Young.
Hello, good evening. My name is Karen Young again. We did a tremendous job this year. Our 7th and 8th grade, they had winning seasons in our JV programs. They were 9-3, which is excellent. Our varsity team, which is the first time in history, they made the playoffs, and they did a tremendous job. We have a few of our representatives today. Kelly Carranza, Kenzie Wilson, and our senior, Brandy Cadenas. Again, we thank you for your support, and we're going to do well next year. Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you, ladies. Coach Young also received Coach of the Year honors in our district, so that was quite an honor for our district for her to receive those kind of honors, and we were very proud of her and the work that she does with our young kids. Next, we have our boys and girls cross country with Coach Smith.
Board, Dr. Ackerman, these are just a few of our cross-country runners. The 2 boys are seniors, so that's one of the reasons I invited them. David Calderon has run at the state meet 3 years out of his 4 years at the high school level. Has already been accepted to Texas A&M, so very proud of him there. Gilbert Tadassis has run 2 of his 4 years at the state meet also. David's been in our program, I believe, 6 years, is that right? And Gilbert 5 years. We should give them a full ride to any college they want to put up with me that long. So, Diamond is a freshman, and she's a state qualifier also. She's probably, as I checked through the history books, the first individual to ever qualify for the state cross-country meet on the girls' side. So that's a huge accomplishment as a freshman. We started our season first Monday in August, like football, volleyball does, and we hope to be competing that last, I guess that second weekend in November, which is the state meet. And these young men and young women have done that, and we've done it for 8 consecutive years now, and the 5 members of the boys team that are not here, they all come back next year. So we bring back a strong group of boys, and then Diamond plus her teammates, most of them will be back next year. We expect the 9th consecutive year. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. As you know, Coach Smith does a great job with our cross-country teams. 2 weeks ago, we had elementary cross-country meet in the stadium, and the kids love the new track, by the way, so we appreciate that, and so did they. And anyhow, he does a great job. The last 6 years, we have placed 54 of our athletes in college scholarships, athletic scholarships. And a large part of that is Coach Smith with the cross-country team, with that in the track combination. So we really feel proud of those kids doing that. Our next program is Coach Hoffman, and with our boys' football program.
All right.
Please forgive my hat here. We just got off the field. As you know, I want to introduce these guys here. If you are at the playoff game the other night, Claudio Arispe, he's number 2, and he did a great job, and he rushed for 3 touchdowns and threw a touchdown pass and did a great job. And Gilo, he is a 2,000-yard rushing tailback for us, and has been the heart and soul of our football team all year long. And you know, he's not real big, but he has a big heart, and he does a great job, and we would not be where we're at went for him. And then number 14 here, Georgie Fernandez, he broke his leg, I guess 5 weeks ago, and it was a complete fibula break, and it's healed real well, and somehow he's amazing. He tore his knee up 2 years ago, last year, and was able to come back in 2 weeks, and he's back, and he played a little bit the other night for us, and his first play of the game, we put him in there, we're going to just run the ball and kind of get him used to it. Well, he checks the play at the line and throws a slant for about 15 yards, so he's back to his old self, but these guys are super, and they represent Del Rio well, and what I love about most about Del Rio and coaching these kids is these are the best kids that I've ever coached anywhere. I've coached in San Antonio. I've coached in the Fort Worth area. These are the best kids by far. It's not even close. And we appreciate all your support and what you've done as far as the field, the track, and it's really been a big shot in the arm for us this year. And we really appreciate everything you guys have done.
Coach Hoffman and staff do a really great job with our football program. I said this last year, our football program is known throughout the state now and in a positive way, and we do appreciate that. And to my knowledge, this is the second time we've gone 3 rounds deep into the playoffs, and it's been in the last 6 years. So that's quite an accomplishment for those young men and the staff. So again, I want to reiterate that we appreciate everything you've done as far as our facilities and the things that go on behind the scenes. A lot of people don't know, but you do take care of our athletic program, and I want to personally, publicly say thank you very much. Thank you.
Again, outstanding work by kids and their coaches. Certainly make us all proud. Ms. Falcone, Dr. Keys came in at 6:13, I think, if not that. Okay, that brings us to information item F, facilities and operations update. First one being Ruben Chavita Elementary construction update. Mr. Salinas and Mr. Graves presenting.
Good evening, Mr. Garabedian, members of the board, Dr. Ackerman. Before I turn it over to Mr. Graves, just want to let you know that I'm pleased to report that we started moving from the old library to the new library right before Thanksgiving break, continued it during Thanksgiving break, and we finished the first phase. The second phase was started today with the movement of the technology equipment, and the third phase, which will be the final phase, will be finished within 2 weeks, which is all of the district-provided furniture being placed in the new library. Mr. Graves?
Thank you. Good evening. The photographs you're going to see on the library, it's a good thing we took them last week because now there are things every place in there. They still have a lot of exterior site work to do, bringing in topsoil. This is an exterior view of the library. The library's on the left. This is a connecting covered walkway from the existing building to the new library. This is the checkout counter. This is the main library room that we're looking at here. Most all of the library equipment has been delivered. I think there were 1 or 2 pieces that finally came in last week on it. Like I said, they're in the process of moving all of the books in, and there are things every place right now on it. These are computer carrels in the main room. This is the workroom. The resource room. There's still equipment, Xerox machines and things like that that'll need to be brought in. And this is a classroom.
That's the existing library, showing that it's been vacated. And all the books are gone, boxed up. And now they're everywhere. Along with the next picture. But everything's been moved over. And so that was the first phase. The second phase we started today, and that's moving all the technology over, the computers, the printers, et cetera. And that's gonna take about 2-3 days. And with the plan that we put together with the principal and the staff there, we hope to be functional week and a half, maximum 2 weeks.
This is the gymnasium. They're still working on that. The exterior is probably 95% complete. They still have a lot of work to do on the interior. They're roughing in the electrical and the plumbing. They're finishing up sidewalks on the outside. They still have the connecting walkway to this building to do. That goes on that walkway slab there. Inside, electricians and plumbers are working. Some duct work is being installed. And once all that gets in place, and it'll be a short time, they'll be able to do the wall finishes and floor finishes, and it'll be ready to go. And I would say we're probably looking at sometime in the, maybe even the middle of not the middle, but the end of December on it. That was all.
Are there any questions? Ruben, Sarita?
Mr. Overfelt has a question.
It's not a question, it's a comment on that third slide that you showed, that one right there with the glassed-in walkway. Ms. Haynes leaned over and same sentiment, that's really awesome. I like that, that's cool.
We wanted to create that it was the same envelope, part of the building, and so that is our conditioned space, so we decided to enclose it. Now, the ones to the gym is an open breezeway.
That's really neat, I like that.
Other question? Mr. Mesa has a question.
I had a question, and it's mainly for Mr. Salinas. Now, the old library will be converted to the administrative building, so
Yes.
that will start.
As soon as we finish vacating it out, we're gonna establish the timeline with the principal and staff, but we're gonna get started.
And it's scheduled for move-in.
I believe it's the end of January.
End of January. We hope that they'll be able to get a lot of work done over the holidays.
Obviously, we don't want to interrupt the instructional time. We do need to do some jackhammering in there because of where the partitions are at and tying in for restroom area for the office space. But we're going to be working with the staff doing after-hours work and weekend work.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Other questions? Thank you. That brings us to the second, which is the Bank and Trust Ramfield construction update. Again, Mr. Salinas and Mr. Graves presenting.
Well, we visited the site today, and they are on track. And with that, I'll turn it over to Mr. Graves.
Yay.
Most of the demolition has been complete. In fact, I would say all of it has been. This was one of the dugouts. Some of the walls, the old restrooms, the old concession, all that has been taken out. You don't see a lot of the things here that the contractor's done. There are, I think, 34 piers in the ground that they had to drill and pour. And I think they finished the last ones this past week on it. Those are the piers that are going to hold the structure up that covers the bleachers. This was taken back in October, and they have removed that other dugout. And what they're really doing right now is working on the trusses for the structure. They're building those in a warehouse. All of their structural steel came in, and so they're making all those frames. There's a lot of prefab work that needs to be done on those. When I was over there today, the foundation is ready to be started. They had their compaction test on the subgrade where the new restrooms and concession building goes. And they'll probably be pouring concrete in the next couple of weeks on it. Have that ready to go, so you'll see things, all of a sudden just start to speed up on it. Right now, everything's underground and in a warehouse. Are there any questions on it?
Ms. Lozano has I'm sorry.
The completion date, when are we looking at?
April 1st?
I think it was closer to the middle of April.
So we'll be playing our games here at our field?
Well, Coach Hurley has all of the first 6 weeks to 2 months scheduled away to help us with the construction aspect.
I see. Well, that's great.
Yes, sir.
Ms. Lozano has a question.
Mr. Salinas, have arrangements been made for the alumni game? I know there usually is an alumni game before the season actually begins, and I believe it's sometime in February. Are you aware of?
No, ma'am, I'm not aware of that at this time, but I'm sure that we'll try to accommodate them at our practice field.
Could you just give us a little update as to, I heard there was some kind of leveling of the field? I don't know if that's the right word.
Coach Hurley? I'll turn that over to Coach Hurley. That was part of our prep.
Take the question back.
Part of the prep that we do on the field on an annual basis. Coach Hurley?
I'm sorry, what was the question? I was out and out.
No, I just heard there was the leveling of the field, just to give us an update as to.
At the park, at the game
at
field,
At the banking trust.
we had Texas Multicam come in and level down there was a hump between the infield, red clay, and the outfield, took that all down, carried that all out, leveled that. We did came in and power rake the whole field like we normally do, and we overseeded it with ryegrass and fertilized it, and we're watering it right now.
Great.
And we're getting ready to do the leveling of the practice field on our field here for practice, because the same thing, year after year, you drag it, and you get that hump around the infield. So that's our plan right now, is to take that out also. Did I hear alumni game, or?
Yes.
Alumni.
And that's where we're planning.
February something.
Yeah, that's where we're planning on doing that. So hopefully we got that done by then.
Perfect. Thank you, sir.
Any other questions on the Bank and Trust Ram field?
Mr. Mesa has a question.
I vaguely remember upgrades on the lighting. Is that correct?
For the Bank and Trust or
Bank and
for our
Trust. Bank and Trust.
No, for the Bank and Trust, just some electrical to the main panel,
That's all.
yes. Now, for our practice field, we are looking at moving forward with providing lighting, and we're doing that study as we speak.
Okay.
Other questions? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
It brings us to three, the school district intramural program update for the MOU with the Boys and Girls Club of Del Rio. Presenter, Mr. Salinas and Mr. Hurley.
Thank you, Mr. Garabedian. Back on June of 2011, the school board approved a memorandum of understanding with the Boys and Girls Club here of Del Rio. And at this time, I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Gadasa, who's one of the board of directors, to share what's in your packet as to what transpired this last year. There's a 2-page on, per that MOU, what services they actually provided on behalf of the district for the district's intramural program, and how many teams participated and the cost, et cetera.
Good evening, members of the school board and Dr. Ackerman. For the record, my name is Roland Garza, and I'm president of the Delaware Boys and Girls Club located on De La Rosa Street. Last year, we had the privilege of working with the school district, and I want to thank Coach Hurley for the time and effort, and Mr. Salinas that they put in helping us run an intramural program free of charge to the students of San Felipe Del Rio CISD. We had a flag football intramural program that lasted approximately 5 weeks, 6 weeks, and then we ran a intramural basketball program. And in short, for those individuals who may not know the kind of essentially the terms of the agreement, but basically we were the organizing administrative group that facilitated the intramural program, and in exchange we were allowed to use school facilities for Boys and Girls Club activities as a trade-off. And we felt that the agreement we had in place was a fair agreement. When we started off, we were a little skeptical in terms of how it was going to work out, but last year was a big learning curve for us in terms of marketing to the schools and the campuses. Initially, we had well over 400 kids come out for flag football because it was free and it was new, and a lot of the kids enjoyed it. Some didn't enjoy it. We had some come, we had some leave, and we learned a lot of lessons in terms of kind of how to proceed. This year, with the intent of running flag football, with all that's going on with Pee Wee football, we wanted to run another flag football league, and unfortunately, we didn't see the numbers that we would have liked to have seen. In comparison, last year we saw about 350 register right on time, and then we had another 80 or 60 come on after the first week of flag football. This year, we didn't see those numbers. We think that might have been due to the fact that, one, it was new last year, so we saw more kids come out and they kind of saw what was going on and they really didn't want to participate in the program. And two, I think Pee Wee football brought in a little more kids this year, and soccer. So there's a lot going on. And one of the lessons we learned also along with those lines is in the spirit of cooperation and the spirit of working on the MOU, we want to offer active kids and programs that are going to keep active kids. So one of the things we're talking about doing is do alternative sports or non-traditional sports, where it may either be kickball or relay races or anything we can do to keep the kids active away from the traditional sports. And we've already kind of just voiced that with some of the schools, and they're interested in participating. So we want to continue to operate the intramural program. And again, this is at no cost to the children that attend the public school. We feel that if it's 20 to 30 kids, it's better, obviously to have a bigger group of people, but we understand that there are limitations, and, there's only so many available students to pull from, and so some of them choose to participate and others don't choose to participate. And again, from the Boys and Girls Club standpoint, as you've seen on the numbers, we do inherit some loss, but we feel that the loss far outweighs the benefits, and that's keeping our kids off the streets and keeping them active and keeping them engaged in a positive environment. And we do intend to run the basketball program. Last year we ran it, and we had real good participation. And again, it was by campus. So Buena Vista students participated against students from Ruben Chavita and Garfield and Lonnie Green, things of that nature. So it's all done by campus. If we feel that our numbers have depleted there, then we can always merge the campuses and do it to where it's just, we have maybe 3 or 4 teams from first grade, 3 or 4 teams from the second grade, 3 or 4 teams from the third grade. But again, all this at no cost to the students.
Do you have any questions about the 2-page information that was in your packet as far as participation, as far as cost, to actually run those 2 intramural programs on behalf of the school district?
Any questions?
One thing I'd like to add is you're looking over some of the numbers, and if you want to take your time and have any questions for me. One thing that we did experience also was we had a problem with coaches last year, and we're only as good as the volunteers and coaches that we have that participate in our program. So last year, one of the big knocks on the program was that we didn't have enough coaches. So what ended up happening was the kids weren't able to go to practice. They'd show up, and parents would volunteer the day of the games to coach the kids. So that was one thing that we tried a different approach this time around, where instead of doing all the registration at the campuses as we did last year, we required the parents to go to the facility on De La Rosa Street and register their kids individually. Then at that point, we asked them if they wanted to coach. Because last year on the first 2 or 3 weeks, I was there, we'd go to the stands and ask the coaches, our parents, if they wanted to coach. And so that's oftentimes, is the case with most leagues that you're affiliated with in the nonprofit community is coaches and parents participating. So one of the big things that we didn't have that much of a problem with basketball, but we did with flag football. So
I want to point out that you see flag football in the fall and you see basketball in the spring. Those were the school district's intramural programs. The trade-off for the Boys and Girls Clubs at the very bottom where you see 294 hours of use of our three facilities. And that was San Felipe Memorial Middle School, Cody Wardlaw, and Garfield. And that's for the Boys and Girls Club program.
Ms. Lozano has a question.
Who uses the Cody Wardlaw? With the Boys and Girls Club, they play there too?
Practices
Practices.
mainly.
Oh, practice.
practices.
The issue with that gym for actual games is the ADA accessibility concerns. But for practices, there's not going to be much of a crowd, and we're okay with that.
And the use, maybe I'm misunderstanding this, but you are using the Del Rio Middle School gym?
That's for the school district's
Oh, okay.
intramural programs.
See, we run the intramural programs at certain school facilities, and then as a trade-off, during our in-house basketball, Boys and Girls Club, we utilize the three facilities on the bottom here for practices. You know, in January and February, it's real cold for the young ones to be practicing outside, so we'll go inside to these facilities and practice in the calendar year.
I have one additional question, and sorry, Coach, it is for you. Coach Hurley. I know you were kind of spearheaded to be the lead or have the oversight over this program. How is it working for you? Did it add a significant amount of work to you?
Well, I think that, last year being the first year of doing this, there was a lot of tweaking that went on during the course of the year, what we could do better and so forth. And I feel like we got a better handle on it this year as far as the organizational part with the administration on both sides. So I feel like it's going to go a lot better for us. There won't be as much time consuming because, we'll be able to meet, hey, we talked about this, we changed this and so forth. This past year, we met a lot just trying to figure out what we were getting ready to do with these kids and as far as being an organized, constructive program. So we're hoping that, we've kind of come to some conclusions as far as what to do and what not to do with our programs. Does that answer your question?
Yes, sir, thank you.
And I will say there is a lot of moving parts to these programs in that as we continue to run these programs, they're anticipated. So parents know and they can, budget their, whatever their time or whatever they need to do with rides and whatnot. They'll know that, in November, they're going to run this program. In March, they're going to run this program. And that way through the years, parents will start getting accustomed to it. And parents plan out their year. They'll know that they can allot this amount of time, to participate in the intramural program, and again, at no cost to the students. And I will say, on behalf of the Boys and Girls Club, we're right now in a position financially to offer this program at no cost. And I think it's an extreme luxury to the kids of Del Rio in that, because when I joined the board in 2005, we were close to $180,000 in debt, and we worked our way eventually out of it, and we're now in the black. And we do have, a reserve fund balance, so where we have money in the bank to be able to offer these programs. So we've worked diligently to improve our image in the community and to work on programs such as this to foster a good relationship with the students and the kids. So we'd love to continue doing it, and again, Mr. Salinas and Coach Early have been exceptional in working with us and been very persistent and patient with us at the same time.
We do plan to evaluate the program earlier this year, early summer, bring you all the report early summer, and then obviously determine administratively to continue it or not, because it is on a year-to-year.
And as you see, last year in flag football, we had roughly 469 kids participate. Last year in basketball, we had 240 kids participate. And we expect the basketball number to stay the same.
Other questions?
What about volleyball? You don't,
Well, right now, the Boys and Girls Club does run an in-house volleyball league, and I understand there's a V3 program that also runs a volleyball program, and so there's we don't want to do a lot of duplication of effort. The reason why we chose flag football is there wasn't anybody running a flag football program in Del Rio, so we figured we'd focus on that. There is a need for volleyball, but again, it's just a matter of when we do it because there are other leagues going on at the same time, and it's kind of duplication of effort. So we probably could consider doing something in the summer that's free.
What do you mean duplicating efforts?
Well, we run a volleyball program, Boys and Girls Club, and then V3 runs a volleyball program. So there's already those existing leagues, so that need is being met currently in the community. Now, in terms of it being for free, that's not being done, but there's already a few leagues being run at the moment.
Some would disagree, and there's a concern that there's a need for more, especially when it comes to volleyball. I'm familiar with V3, there's also Extreme and some others that are trying to start up, so.
Well, what ends up happening at that point is we run in the same situation as with football. I mean, it's kind of, you have football going on and you do flag football, and it's just like you have soccer, so there's all those things going on, and it's kind of hard to pull these kids in because there's a lot of those programs going on. So finding the months in the school year where you could run a volleyball program and not impede on basketball, not impede on softball, I mean, it becomes a bit difficult, but we're more than happy to look at it. It's nothing out of the question.
I don't think there'll be a whole lot of interference, because the reason I'm saying is because I attended a few games over at Boys Club volleyball games, and I could see the improvements that those kids do.
Sure.
I mean, we start them like you do the flag football and basketball and everything at the 6th grade level. By the time they go into the 7th grade or junior high, they'll be ready to play, because I saw a lot of improvements on those, especially the girls. So that would be great. Are you utilizing the Cody Waterlaw
We are for practices
for practices?
for our kids during the season for our basketball league as well. So, but currently for in-house basketball games, no, we're not. For the intramural basketball program, we're not.
Dr. Keys has a question.
Roland,
Sure.
I noticed we're operating on the accounting sheet there.
Yes, sir.
How's that loss being made up? Is that from the school district, Mr. Salinas?
Well, the loss, it's not shown on there, and that's a very good point, Dr. Keats. The 294 hours totals to close to $10,500. And so that's the trade-off, so it's a win-win. In other words, if they had to have rented those facilities from us to utilize it for 294 hours, it would have cost them about that much.
Well, looking at that, I go, well, that's not too bad, because between the two losses of basketball and football, that's $7,600. But we're serving 600 kids. You break it down, that's only $13 a kid. It's a small investment.
And there are some things that we're going to do differently this year to kind of tweak it a little bit. Last year, we charged a gate fee to create some more revenue, and so we had some parents that would just drop their kids off and leave, and they wouldn't pay the revenue. So we're looking at doing some different things on trying to generate some more revenue. That way, there isn't a loss. But as you've indicated before, that $7,000 in the lieu of the rent is a win-win for us.
Sell T-shirts.
Something, yeah. That's an idea.
They all love T-shirts.
Well, in our MOU, if there's a need, they can charge a little bit of a fee. They're allowed to charge the gate fee, but if they need to charge a registration fee or something, then they bring it to the administration based on their cost, and we will either accept it or reject it.
Mr. Garza, any consideration to doing a fall ball,
Football or baseball?
baseball?
That's obviously there is a need for that, and at that point it becomes a situation with the use of Roosevelt and working out those details with respect to the
For
nonprofit.
the little kids, they wouldn't need Roosevelt,
Well, we can utilize the UCO or Popward.
or even the middle school has fields,
That's correct. Yes.
just.
And then the issue of,
That's a
For
good idea.
baseball.
That's a good idea.
and then the issue with the National League and the American League, they might get mad that we're
Well, but
competing with them.
that's in the spring.
This will
so
be in the fall.
Okay, that makes sense. Another thing you might want to consider is, we just heard the presentation by Coach Smith, cross country. Start them young, because they're going somewhere good.
We talked about that and doing the intramurals is doing some like relay races and have the kids show up and play. One week they'd play kickball, the next week they do relay races, the following week they do dodgeball, or whatever other sport we can kind of program in there. But there is the need for the cross country and the volleyball. Again, is on our end as well as a staffing situation. We have 2 staffers, and so some of our contract dollars were kind of depleted early on. So we're going to try to maybe fund a little bit more positions to execute those programs as well.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Thank y'all very much.
Okay, thank you all.
Thank you, Mr. Garza.
Thank you.
Okay, that brings us to information item G, information on notice of grant awards for federal programs consolidated application. Presenter, Dr. Mary Gonzalez Ramirez and Ms. Yannicani Valdez.
Good evening, board members, Dr. Ackerman. This evening, you received information pertaining to the notice of grant awards for federal programs consolidated application. The Title I, Part A, improving basic programs amount is $3,664,608. This amount is used to fund teachers, paraprofessionals, instructional aides, parental aides, and also summer programs, some tutors, and some professional development. Title I, Part D, Subpart 2, delinquent programs is used to assist in funding a teacher at the Juvenile Detention Center. Title I, Part C, migrant is used to fund migrant staff, to fund the summer math program called Project Smart's math program. We also fund a 3- and 4-year-old program by funding 4 teachers, 8 instructional aides. We also fund tutors at Del Rio Freshman and Del Rio High School to assist migrant students needing additional assistance. Title III, Part A, LEP, is used to fund the summer bilingual program for incoming kindergarten and first grade students. It also funds some of the staff and the ESL strategists under that department. Title II, Part A, Teacher and Principal Training, funds training for teachers, like it states, and principals, but it also funds training to help teachers become highly qualified. It also funds teachers in classrooms where the numbers are more than 22 to 1, specifically 1st through 4th grade. The total amount for the notice of grant awards for federal programs is $5,438,830. Any questions at this time?
Questions? Okay, thank you. Brings us to information item H, which is information report on notice of grant awards for federal programs for school improvement. Dr. Mary Gonzalez Ramirez and Ms. Yannicani Valdez presenting.
The notice of grant awards for federal programs for school improvement includes funding for Del Rio Middle School in the amount of $15,000, San Felipe Memorial Middle School, the same amount, Garfield Elementary, North Heights Elementary, and Dr. Fermin Calderon Elementary, each receiving $15,000 for a total of $75,000. The amounts will be used for professional development. Some of the campuses will also use to help fund tutors, some of them for additional supplies and materials, for additional consultants, and some will also be used for additional software. Any questions pertaining?
Dr. Keys has a question.
Mayor, is this coming from the original grant of the $5 million also?
No, sir, this is in addition to the $5 million.
So we have 2 grants here, right?
Correct. Actually, each one of the campuses, so that's 5, and then the other one is 6.
Very good. Thank you.
Mr. Gerbarian,
Mr. Overfelt has a question.
on the 15,000 per campus, who on that campus decides what they're gonna spend it on? Is it just the principal, or will there be a committee?
No, sir. It's required for each campus to have what they call a CLT,
Leadership team?
campus leadership team. And the decisions are based on the campus leadership team
What they feel?
recommendations is the word I was trying to
No
think of.
problem. Thank you.
Other questions? Okay, thank you. Brings us to information item I, highly qualified teacher and paraprofessional public report. Presenter, Dr. Deanna Aguirre.
This evening, Dr. Aguirre will present on the highly qualified public reporting. This is required for districts who receive Title I funds, and we are required to complete this report by December 15th. Dr. McNamara, Dr. Aguirre, and myself and some of our staff worked on this report, and Dr. Aguirre will give you more information, and we will help answer any questions if you have any at the end of her presentation.
Highly, Mr. Garabedian, Ms. Ackerman, Dr. Ackerman, and members of the board. Highly qualified is a mandate of NCLB, and districts are required to submit a report indicating what the district and campus's highly qualified status is on their staff. At the time of the snapshot, which is 9/17/2012, San Felipe Del Rio did not have 100% highly qualified at the following campuses. There were 4 campuses: Del Rio Freshman, Del Rio Middle School, San Felipe Memorial Middle School, and Lonnie Green. Each one involved one staff member. And at the time of the snapshot, which I said was September 17th, there were not the highly qualified applicants. And since then, since the time that the report was submitted, all campuses are highly qualified. We have since been able to staff each position with a staff member that's considered highly qualified. Are there any questions that I can help answer?
Ms. Lozano has a question.
Dr. Aguirre, maybe I'm misunderstanding or not understanding the reports that are attached, but not all of them report 100%. Does that make a difference?
Right, there were 4 campuses that were not at 100%.
Right.
And that was the Del Rio Freshman, Del Rio Middle School, San Felipe Memorial, and Dr. Lonnie Green Elementary. And that was at the time of the snapshot, which was September the 17th.
So the percentages that are not 100, I guess the
Yes.
last column is the update.
Yes.
Is that correct? Okay.
Right. And as of the last report that was submitted, everybody is at 100%.
Thank you, ma'am.
I know he's critical. Questions? Julia, do you have a question?
I know that you had the question that you had was pertaining to this report?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. Okay, and the first one is for last year. So it shows that last year, at the time of the submission, everybody in the district, so the district was at 100%. But this year's report is on the next page, and it shows you that the 4 campuses that were not highly qualified. And at this time now, they are. And like I said, it involved 1 personnel at each one of the campuses, where there was a long-term sub.
Thank you.
And the reason that we have the asterisks under the percentage of teacher receiving highly qualified professional, at the end of the year, we're required to report again. So at the end of May, we'll report again. And something else to note is that they did select 3 campuses for random validation. That's why you see Buena Vista, Calderon, and Irene Cardwell. Irene Cardwell and Calderon is under percentage of classes taught by highly qualified teachers, high poverty campuses. And randomly, they select some high poverty campuses in our region. Those 2 happen to be the 2 campuses for a region. And then they select a low poverty campus, and in our region, it was Buena Vista. And those 3 campuses happen to be 100% highly qualified. Something else that we did today is this letter that's here was faxed to TA as required. And then in a few days, we will go back into the system and make sure that we make the changes so that it will reflect that we are at 100%. But we were not on snapshot day. Any other questions?
Mr. Chavita, did you have a question earlier? Or
Who determines, or what is this program, highly qualified teachers? What is it?
Okay, highly qualified is part of NCLB, and there is certain criteria that a teacher must meet in order to be highly qualified. For example, if you're certified in English grades, and it depends on certifications. Some of us who have the old certifications, it may say English 1 through 8th, but others may say English 4 through 8th. So there is certain criteria that must be followed in order to be considered highly qualified. Teachers with the alternative certification are looked at differently than a teacher who went through the student teaching and all of that. But there is criteria that must be followed in order to certify that a teacher is highly qualified.
And how many of these teachers were retired and rehired again? Is there any of them?
That I know of, just Mrs. Esparza. Well, no, Mr. De Hoyos.
there's another one on there.
Yes, there's two of them.
How many?
Two.
Other questions? No? Other comments? Probably for later. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, that brings us to information item J, attendance rates to date by school.
Good evening, honorable board members. Mr. President, Dr. Ackerman, my name is Rene Luna. I'm the MIS director. At this time, I would like to present the enrollment and attendance reports for the month of October. These reports were produced on November 11th due to the holiday and for preparation for the board meeting tonight. On November 11th, the total enrollment for the district was 10,450. I should have just stepped back. The ADA report for the month of October shows Del Rio High School at 95.79, Del Rio Freshman School at 96.87, Del Rio Middle School 97.22, Garfield 97.53, North Heights 97.56, San Felipe Memorial 97.74, Lamar Elementary 98.6, Cardwell 96.33, Buena Vista 98.13, Ruben Chavita 97.86, Calderon 97.9, and Dr. Lonnie Green 97.33. In the ranking for the month, the elementary that had the highest attendance percentage was Lamar at 98.74. Number 2 was Buena Vista Elementary at 98.46.
Okay, hold on, I have a question. Say that again? The highest elementary rating was where?
Lamar Elementary, let me pull.
98.6.
Okay.
98.6. The second was Buena Vista at 98.46. 98.46. The third is 98.17, Chavita. Dr. Fermin Calderon, 98.11. Place 5, North Heights Elementary, 98.08. Garfield, place 6, 97.98. Dr. Lonnie Green, place 7, 97.95. and Irene Cardwell, place 8, 96.96 for elementary. For secondary, first place goes to San Felipe Memorial, 97.99. Del Rio Middle School, 97.5, place 2. Del Rio Freshman, place 3, 97.1. And Del Rio High School, 96.38.
He's looking at the component.
Well, Lamar's still in the lead year to date.
But it has dropped.
It has dropped.
In fact, Lamar's dropped this month. The high school is down. Garfield's down. The others are up.
They're doing great.
Yeah. Overall, the percentages are good. Questions? Comments?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, that brings us to information item K, discipline report to date by school. Ms. Ana Leyva presenting.
Thank you. Mr. President, Dr. Ackerman, board members. For October, for drugs, we only had one drug case. Compared to last year, we had 8. The violations of conduct, we had 181 violations. Assaults for October were 3. Last year, we had 4. Gang violence was 0 and weapons 0. Gang violence last year was 2 cases. Terroristic threat 0. Last year, we had 1. Types, this year we had 13, and last year we had 23. And then we have the number of suspension days, out-of-school suspensions, 109 days. Number of suspension days, in-school suspensions, 95.5. Days of suspensions, 204.5. And numbers of suspension students, 92 students. And total expulsions, 1. Compared to last year, we had 8.
Mr. Mesa has a question.
Ms. Leyva, I've noticed like a double the number from September to October, number of days of suspension. Is that,
No, just days.
days of suspension?
On days of suspension?
Was there something out of the ordinary that occurred during the month of October, or this is something, you know, that I'm always concerned with because of days that are out, you know, and loss of instructional time. And at the end of the year, they do not have the credits for the grades to move on to the next subject or the next grade level. Is there anything out of the ordinary that occurred that you can remember of?
really, because, the drug cases are low, and that's usually 3 days. The fights are low, that's also usually 3 days suspensions. So the only thing that I can see that's jumped up a little higher is the violation code of conduct. And that's usually 1 day or 2 days. That's the only one that I see that's higher.
Same thing for ISS, we have quite a jump.
In fact, the ISS jump is even more dramatic, because that's like 5 times. And Mr. Mesa pointed out, the first one's almost double, that's like 5 times increase on the other.
I just asked for that. I hope it's not a reoccurring trend that we see, that we started out with great numbers in September, and all of a sudden, here we are in October, and see 4 times the number that we saw in September.
Well, let me ask you this, Ms. Leyva. At what point, okay, I know these are numbers for October, and like me and Mr. Mesa are talking, comparing September to October. At what point is this information available, these numbers?
October 1st through the end of the month.
Okay. So there's been no discussion as to what caused that?
No, before it is sent to Dr. Ackerman and to Ms. Falcone, it is verified by the principals, the assistant principals, and they verify the numbers.
So wouldn't the principal, I'm sorry.
Go ahead. I'm sorry, Mr. Overfeld.
So wouldn't the principals then be the ones that really would be able to answer why there's been a sudden jump in numbers there, as opposed to Ms. Leyva, who goes in and compiles the data?
The only
If you
ones
wanted
that-
the root of it.
Right, the only ones that I really deal with are when I have a case. But as far as numbers, I'm just putting numbers together.
Right, that's what I'm saying, that the principals would probably be able to answer that better than you would.
Yes, and a big part of those are out tonight.
Yeah, I was scanning the crowd to see who we could ask, but apparently, no. Other questions?
And then a report by campus. Daria High School, we only had 1 drug case, 44 violation code of conduct, and 4 fights. Freshman school had 0 drug cases, 0 assaults, 69 violation code of conduct, and 2 fights. Dario Middle School had 0 drug cases, 3 assaults, 43 violation code of conduct, and 4 fights, but 7 students were involved. Some Felipe Memorial had 0 drug cases, 0 assaults, 13 violation code of conduct, and 3 fights. Lonnie Green had 1 violation code of conduct. Calderon 0 all the way across. Chavita 0 all the way across. Buena Vista had 1 violation code of conduct. Cardwell 0 all the way across. Lamar 5 violation code of conduct. North Heights 0 all the way across. Garfield had 5 violation code of conduct. The total drug cases was 1, assaults 3, violation code of conduct 181, and fights 13. Dario High School had suspension days 20, out of school suspensions 8, in-school suspensions 12, and expulsions 1. Freshman school had 31 suspension days, out of school 26, in-school suspensions 5, and 0 expulsions. Dario Middle School had 87 suspension days, 46 out of school, 41 in school, and 0 expulsions. San Felipe Memorial had 61.5 suspension days, 21 out of school, 37.5 ISS, 0 expulsions. Lonnie Green had 4 suspension days, 4 out of school suspensions, 0 ISS, and 0 expulsions. Calderon 0 all the way across, Chavita 0 all the way across. Buena Vista had 1 suspension day and 1 out of school suspension. Cardwell 0 all the way across, Lamar 0 all the way across. North Heights 0 all the way across, and Garfield 0 all the way across. Suspension days 204.5, out of school 109, in school 95.5, expulsions 1.
Ms. Lozano has a question.
Just a question, and I think this is more for Dr. Ackerman. I would imagine that the violation code of conduct would be different per campus. I guess that just depends on the principal or the APs applying or determining when a violation has been committed. Is that a fair?
Well, they don't have the same handbook to go by.
Correct. But do we really think that there's consistency applied throughout the campuses? I'm just trying to determine, I mean, Buena Vista must be perfect, almost perfect. Calderon, Chavita, Cardwell, North Heights are perfect. Which I think is great if they really are. But my thing is, are some campuses stricter on or quicker to define something as a violation? What's the possibility of going back and looking at least the top 1, 2, 3, 4 campuses and determining?
Yes, we can go back and look at
Just to see, I mean, I know that Mr. Mesa has basically said the same thing for years, I think, well, since we put this report together. If someone is being placed on ISS or OSS, and there really isn't any validity, and I'm not saying there isn't, but if there isn't, I would imagine the violation is going to be defined differently across campuses. That's going to be my gut feeling.
We can look at that.
Thank you.
Mr. Gerben?
Dr. Keyes has a question.
What is the most common or the most frequent violation of code of conduct?
Dress.
Probably persistent misbehavior.
Profanity.
Profanity. Insubordination.
Thank you. It's not like chewing gum, right? Like in the old days, it used to be chewing gum, not anymore.
Not anymore.
Mr. Mesa?
I agree with Dr. Ackerman that, we have a student code of conduct and they're pretty consistent as far as, when they break a certain rule. I think my question would be, I hope it's not the repeaters, keep coming back to like in-school suspension or out-of-school suspension, and hopefully that there's some intervention taking place if it's, let's say, profanity, that something happens to, deter that type of behavior so that it is not consistent throughout the year. I think I'd be concerned with that, but I agree with Dr. Ackerman that, we have the student code of conduct and student, the parents sign off that they read it, and, students are aware of what the rules are. But there's a lot that can be done, and there are differences, because I know that, you have certain, I guess, administrators at the different schools, and some might be quick on the draw, like, to send off or put them in ISS, where others, might conference with a student and get into a deeper discussion as to what actually occurred in more details. But I think it's, fair to say that they know when they cross the line, and the administrators and the teachers, and, because originally it starts with a referral. So, but I do hope that maybe in the discussions that are held, that perhaps, if it's found out that it's the same student going back and forth, because, there are certain program requirements, and I think all of us know that if there's let's say there's special needs, they cannot exceed a certain number of days.
No,
They're
the
out of the
principals are
classroom.
really watching them, definitely.
And then, of course, what Ceci just said, that we're kind of shooting ourselves in the foot because, we want good attendance and we want students to be able to be in the classroom and they're in attendance, but they're not in the classroom. They're in either ISS or, in ISS, they still get some of the work from the teachers, most of it. But it's out of school suspension that, that they're missing out on the instruction because of bad behavior. So hopefully those discussions will be had at some point.
Sure, definitely. And I am seeing when I see the report that they are doing more corrective counseling.
Mr. Chavita has a question.
Yes, so, all last year I kept on saying that numbers wouldn't do anything for me. I wanted to find out, see what kind of interventions we're doing. Exactly what is being asked right now. I hope we have some results. I hope you bring us some information as to what is being done with these kids. Last year, every time you made a presentation, I kept on saying it until I probably just got tired of asking. I sure would like to know, because we need to do something with these kids. And like Mr. Mesa says, I hope it's not the same ones. And if they are, well, then we need to do something with them differently. Because we need to keep them in school. Even those that are expelled, for whatever reason they're being expelled, we need to track them down, see what it is that they do, make sure that they're getting some kind of a help, that type of thing, outside of school. Thank you.
And that's probably a question for the principals too, because if you look at just the secondary schools, the freshmen in San Felipe Memorial Middle are comparable in size, but you have a large difference between the suspension days. It's harder to compare, say, the high school and I guess the middle school you could come close, but it's difficult. But comparing one to the other, those are where some of those answers are, I think, from those principals. Other questions? Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, that brings us to item 6 on the agenda, which is the consent agenda. The first one being consent A, which is consideration to approve minutes of the following meetings, which were October 15th, 2012 regular school board meeting, and October 29th, 2012 public hearing, workshop, special called meeting. There were a couple of typos, but they put an updated one here on your desk. Under consent A, does any board member wish to pull any item from the consent agenda for discussion? Everyone okay with consent A? Is there a motion to approve the items on the consent agenda A? Mr. Overfield's motion, Mr. Mesa is second. All in favor by a show of hands? It's unanimous, motion carries. Brings us to number 7, consent B. Does any board member wish to pull any items from the consent agenda B for discussion?
I don't want to pull it, I just have
Okay, Ms. Lozano has a
a
comment,
question on K. What is Del Rio High School letterman's? Anybody who letters?
Mm-hmm.
Is that what that is?
Oh,
I've
wait.
heard it addressed that way, the K.
Are you asking the board, or are you asking Dr. Ackerman?
Ackerman.
Okay.
Is that a combined athletic fund, or?
I couldn't tell you if that's if it's the combined, all of the lettermen. I would sincerely think that it's separate by each school. I can check into that and make sure.
That's okay. Thank you.
Other questions? Okay, so is there a motion to approve the items on consent agenda B? Mr. Chavita has motion, Mr. Mesa has second. All in favor by a show of hands? Okay, Mr. Chavita, are you voting? Are you voting?
Yes, I went ahead and voted.
Okay, unanimous, motion carries. Before we move on, as is the custom, let me recognize the people who made donations. There's a donation from Buena Vista Elementary, to the Buena Vista Elementary Robotics Club from Bendex CVS de Mexico in the amount of $280. There was a donation to the Del Rio High School Family, Career, and Community Leaders of America from TNS Amusements in the amount of $650. There was a donation to the Del Rio High School Choir from the Ladies Auxiliary VFW in the amount of $700. There was a donation to the Del Rio High School Choir from Geo Group Foundation in the amount of $100. There was a donation to the Del Rio High School Boys Cross Country from Bendex CVS de Mexico in the amount of $500. There was a donation to the Buena Vista Elementary Music from Cynthia Salas in the amount of $30. A donation to the Del Rio High School from Target in the amount of $69.70. There was a donation to the Del Rio High School Lettermans from Texas Athletic Productions in the amount of $800. There was a donation to the Del Rio High School from Fun Factory in the amount of $143.84. There was a donation to the Del Rio High School Building Trades, Electrical Trades, and Automotive from Tractor Supply for 56 individual tools, gear pullers, hammers, measuring tapes, screwdrivers, etc., valued at $250. There's a donation to the North Heights Elementary from Del Rio Rotary Club for supplies for needy students valued at $100. There was a donation to the North Heights Elementary from the Spot for 297 skate award certificates valued at $2,079. A donation to the North Heights Elementary from Stripes for 200 slush money certificates valued at $118. A donation to the Del Rio High School from HEB for a gift card valued at $260. Donation to Del Rio High School welding classes from Precision Pipeline for pipe and electrodes to be used in the classroom, valued at $3,316.80. A donation to the Del Rio Lonnie Green Elementary Student Council from Dr. Lonnie Green PTO for homecoming parade float decorations and caves, valued at $204. A donation to the Dr. Lonnie Green Elementary Attendance Committee from the Dr. Lonnie Green PTO for custom-sewn panther paws for classes with best attendance for the 6 weeks, valued at $96. And a donation to the Dr. Lonnie Green Elementary from Dr. Lonnie Green Elementary PTO for an oak tree valued at $50. So we thank and recognize all of those individuals and organizations that made donations in support of the district's students. It now brings us to agenda item 8, which are discussion action items. First one being discussion action item A, consideration to approve submittal of the Head Start written plans, procedures, and bylaws. Presenter is Linda Guanajuato Webb.
Which includes all of the S.F.D.R.C.I.S.D standards and implementation, persons responsible, targeted date, and evaluation. We also have in the binder the bylaws. These items need to be reviewed yearly by both the policy council and staff and the school board. So every year, we present to you a packet with all of the standards and what we're going to be doing. This year, the main items that were edited were basically under evaluation. For example, 1304.21, page 1, page 5, page 12. The removal of lap R4, which we're no longer using, we are using lap R3. So those were the things that were reviewed and edited as far as our written plans and procedures go. The other item that we considered doing, because the board that was in place last year received the same binders again this year, and due to the fact that, unless the board chooses otherwise, due to the fact that we are using so much paper to give you the same information, what we are looking at is giving you a computerized copy, and then maybe just present to you those items that have really changed throughout, instead of giving you the same information year after year. But I don't know if that's what you would prefer. You're still going to get this one. But do you all have any questions regarding our standards and our written plans and procedures?
Mr. Miss has a comment.
Mrs. Webb, during the training that we had at the start of the year, were there some recommendations made for policy changes? I remember one that was discussed that we did not have in place.
Do you recall what that one was?
It had to do with personnel. I need to go back through my notes. But do you remember the gentleman that we brought here in the boardroom?
Yes, Mr. Gravely. And our bylaws indicate that we have to have a 51% of our parents in our policy council, and that we do have.
There was one that kind of caught everybody by surprise that we didn't have, that we needed to look at. But could it have been nepotism, perhaps?
No, we have that in our bylaws. As a matter of fact, in our bylaws, if you look at the,
There was one change that came about that.
right,
I don't remember the exact
okay.
change.
If you look at the composition of Article 3 in our bylaws, it states that no employee of the San Felipe Del Rio C.I.S.D. Head Start program or member of their immediate families living within the same household may serve on the policy council. And that we have run into situations where we have a sister of an employee of the Head Start program that has been elected to serve on the policy council, and once we realize that that person is related to a staff member, they cannot serve as policy council. And that did occur last year, so we had to remove that person and bring the next one into place.
Okay, so there was an adjustment made there?
The only adjustment that was made was the word Head Start program. That's the only adjustment that was made, right.
Thank you.
You have another comment?
Well, I think I do. I still have, sorry, I still have my binder from last year, so I think, I'd go for that recommendation that if you give us the changes only, because I kept my binder, and I think it would be, a whole lot of work to put all these binders together again. If you could just give us the changes, I think that would suffice. I don't know if the rest of the board
And I will
members-
tell you that every time that we look at our binders and every time we look at the wording, sometimes we find grammatical errors, sometimes we find typos, things like that that are automatically corrected. But when you have committees putting things together, and then we do have to present to our policy council, and we have special call meetings for them, because with our policy council, since there are new members every year, we have to go through each item more in depth with them, because they don't understand all of the procedures that we use. They don't realize all the standards, so we have to actually have a training for them to go more in depth into each of the standards.
questions? Comments?
I'm all for the CD version
Electronic?
from here on out. That'll work just fine for me.
Thank you, sir.
Well, I like paper, but I agree with Mr. Messa, just the inserts are fine instead of redoing the whole thing. Anything else?
It is the recommendation of the administration that the Head Start written plans, procedures, and bylaws be approved as presented, and that Mr. Garabedian be allowed to sign.
Okay, we've heard the recommendation. Is there a motion? Mr. Messa has motion. Mr. Chavita has second. Show of hands, all in favor? It's unanimous, motion carries. Discussion action item B, consideration to approve supplemental education services providers at Del Rio Middle School. Ms. Gomez is not here tonight. Rodriguez will be presenting in her place.
Good evening, Board President, Dr. Ackerman, and board members. In compliance with Texas Education Agency Code 44.031, Purchasing Law and the Title I Supplemental Educational Services Program Policy Guidelines, the listed supplemental educational services providers are being brought for approval. Under No Child Left Behind, when a Title I Part A campus is identified for Stage 2, 3, 4, 5 of the school improvement program, the local education agency is required to offer SES to students from low-income family, including students who qualify as students with disabilities and students with limited English proficiency. The parents of eligible students choose from the state-approved list of providers. The following providers have been selected, considered by the parents to provide supplemental educational services to eligible students. One-to-one online tutoring services, Academia de Servicio de Tutoría, Academic Murad, Academic Tutoring Service, A+ #1 Learning Solutions, Avenue Academy, Blazing Brook Management, Blazing Brook Preparatory School of the Arts, Born to be Great, Ryan Hurricane, LLC, Career Launcher USA, the Children's Carousel Academy, Digital Network Group, Education Futures Corp, Group Excellence, Read, Write, and Create, S&D Consulting, PC Tech, Top Flight Education Incorporated, Tutor Computers Connect, Tutors with Tech, and Wonder Space Mobile LLC. These are the providers that we are bringing forward.
Any questions for Mr. Rodriguez?
Just a comment that, every year when these come up, we always see a few more names and, some other companies that have joined it. And, my question has always been, we have nothing to refer to, like either, how much progress they made, the ones that have been brought before. So that I know that they sign up as SES, providers with the state, and the state gives us a list of the ones that have been approved.
Yes, sir.
And then it's funny because once we approve these, then they end up, getting local people, either, some retired personnel that have worked either with the district or with surrounding districts. But, and this is something that, for information purposes, when people go to the Federal Relations Network Conference, we always try to emphasize that one size doesn't fit all. A lot of times, we have this money from No Child Left Behind Title I funds, and yet this is a mandate. It's like you're going to use these SES providers that sign up with the state, but a lot of times, that mandate doesn't fit every district. I think the message that was taken is that sometimes we local people could make a better decision than, some of the federal mandates that come with some of the federal money. And so, but it's kind of strange that we have these companies that we have no idea, of their years in existence or, how well they've done successfully, with the kids and on and on. But it's just a real strange thing.
And you're right when you say that, sir. Some of these companies are in Los Angeles, Florida, New York, all over the nation.
But it's something that we have to do.
Yes, sir.
Other questions, comments?
It's the administration recommends that the Board of Trustees approve the SES providers contracts for the 2012-2013 school year and to approve the interim superintendent to sign the contracts.
We've heard the recommendation. Is there a motion to accept? Dr. Keyes has motioned. Is there a second? Mr. Overfelt has second. All in favor by a show of hands? It's unanimous. Motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Rodriguez.
Thank you.
Brings us to discussion action item C, consideration to approve contract for services with Berry Lane for training on narrative and expository writing. Ms. Patricia Brown presents.
Good evening, Mr. President, Dr. Ackerman, board members. Our end-of-course writing scores last year were very low, so we're trying to be proactive, working hard to make sure that we get improvements this year by bringing in top-notch professional training for our teachers from 6th grade to high school. Consultant services for Berry Lane, a nationally known professional writer and trainer, are being requested for narrative and expository writing training for our English language arts teachers at 6th grade through high school. Mr. Lane uses a hands-on approach with strategies for engaging and energizing writing on a daily basis to ensure success in STAR testing. But most importantly, Mr. Lane will show the teachers how to help students develop a love of writing regardless of the assessments. Scheduled training for 6th grade and Del Rio Middle School teachers will be on December 12th, and Del Rio freshmen, Del Rio High School teachers on December 13th with board approval.
Questions? Comments? Okay, the recommendation?
The administration recommends that the Board of Trustees approve the consultant services agreement for Berry Lane for December 12th through 13th, 2012. Funding will be from campus improvement funding for San Felipe Memorial Middle School and Del Rio Middle School. Funding will be from district improvement funding for Del Rio Freshman School and Del Rio High School.
We've heard the recommendation. Is there a motion? Mr. Overfelt has motion. Mr. Mesa has second. All in favor by a show of hands? It's unanimous. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you. It's 7:38, and we are on the last discussion action item, which is discussion action item D, discussion and consideration of an employee opinion or climate survey. This is what we spoke about, I believe it was one regular meeting ago. We did dig out the last one that was produced. That was, it was 5 years ago. If we look at it as possibly doing it in the very near future, which would be in the spring. The last one that was done was 5 years ago. It was in June of, this one's dated anyway, June of 2008. I had mentioned also last time that some neighboring districts use them regularly, like Uvalde ISD has been using it or has used it for a year or two now, uses it as part of their planning process. TASB, I don't know exactly what the process or the format was 5 years ago, but it could be set up where it's completely, as they say, third party, where it would be online. Survey would be taken with an access code. It would go directly to TASB. They would compile the information and then create the report. The last time it was done, I think the cost was $5,000–6,000.
The estimate for that she had given me last month was $5,000.
Okay. And it follows a pretty simple sequential process. It's the first step would be preparing the survey instruments that TASB, we put together. There's kind of a template, and then it can be modified somewhat, edited to some degree. And testing the survey, kind of a validation of the survey, and then if everything is as we would like it to be, as it should be, then the go-ahead would take place, and employees would be invited to participate, and that information would be gathered. Uvalde get a high response rate. I do know from looking at the one from 5 years ago here, the response rate was not that large. So hopefully if we do proceed, it would get a much larger response rate. I think it's really good for several reasons. One, it's anonymous. The instrument can be crafted, maybe not exactly to specification, but in such a way that you could find out a lot of information. I know we're all bombarded by information, phone calls, pulled aside at Walmart, all sorts of things. So I think this is kind of a way to make it a little bit more, what's the word, objective, right? A little bit more scientific, taking it kind of out of the realm of conjecture, putting it on another provider and see what a report would look like. The turnaround, it doesn't take that long. I mean, if we wanted to do this and we're to start down that road within a few months, it could be conducted. And if memory serves, it seems like the breakout session that I went to where Waco was talking about how they do it, it seems like this is a good time to do it, about middle of the year or so is when you get a better response and kind of better feedback. And there are some possibilities for open-ended questions, kind of commentary that people could put in as well. So my recommendation is given our concern about what is going on in the district and what might need improvement, or things that are good, to get kind of a better idea, I think we should do it. My recommendation would be that we pursue it.
Will they be anonymous?
Yes.
Just an item of interest, which is, something that has happened this year. We've had quite a number of changes, and we will, like in the middle of the year, which is federal program director, bilingual director, new high school principal, 2 assistants at the high school, Chavita Elementary principal, new executive director for curriculum, and it goes on and on. And so, not only that, we also involve a cost, which is, we dig into the fund balance again. But not only that, I think we need time to adjust to the changes, to be fair and honest, I guess for the employees to respond in a manner where it would be used as a tool for improvement, because the changes are about to just start with new personnel in these positions. And then when the new, let's say, the permanent superintendent comes in, I think all of us know that there could be some additional changes, because a lot of times, they either bring someone, or, if they see some things that are not going to their satisfaction, there's some changes made with that, whoever that person might be. A survey is always good. I think if it's used as a tool to improve things in the district, but I think the timing is, to me, I would like for some, adjustment with all the changes that have come about, because you look at the high school, for example, and you have the top person, the high school principal, and then possibly, 2 new assistants that are going to come into that environment. And hopefully they'll come from within, but, it's hard to say that we have the people to move up to those positions. Hopefully we do, and they apply. But the adjustment time is what I'm saying, that for those changes to have happened this year, I think it would be, in my opinion, the best interest to kind of wait until they get into those positions and see how things are managed differently from the new person in charge of those programs. That's my opinion.
Other comments? Questions? Discussion? If it were to become sort of an ongoing instrument, every year, then, you'd also get to see those changes over time. One of the things that makes it a little bit unusual is that one was done 5 years ago, and then apparently there was, not another one followed up, not in 5 years anyway. So I think that's probably one of the reasons why some districts, Waco, saw it that way, and I know Uvalde, the way the former superintendent and the VP of the board over there explained it to me, that, they see it as a yearly planning tool and kind of measuring those types of changes, similar to what Mr. Mess is saying, to what it was like one year, what's it like another year, and kind of moving forward from there. Dr. Ackerman, your thoughts on the survey?
Well, I think they're a good tool to see what the monitor is out there. And the fact that it is anonymous and it's not coming back to the administration, it's going straight into S.F.D.R.C.I.S.D, I think it makes it more valid.
Other comments? You want to take a vote on it? Okay, like I said, my recommendation is that we do it. Is there a motion to go forward? Ms. Lozano motion, Mr. Chavita second. All in favor by a show of hands? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 in favor. All opposed by a show of hands? 1 against. Motion carries. It's now 7:47 p.m. Brings us to item 9, to adjourn the meeting.
Motion to adjourn.
Being no further business before this board, is there a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Mr. Overfelt's motion, Mr. Chavita seconded. All in favor by a show of hands? All in favor by a show of hands? Okay.
Sorry.
Are we having a
Motion
meeting in December?
carries unanimous. Meeting adjourned.
Having a meeting for December?